Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, remember to give this video a like, share with your buddies across the electronic superhighway, click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. All right, so today we have a very special guest. I want to try to make a series out of this of trying to get people to come in and talk with me about movies, not just me blabbing about movies. So this time around, I have an old friend. And why don't you introduce yourself, old friend?
This is because you forgot my name.
No, I know your name. I want to give you the pleasure of telling everybody that.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Patey. I used to review comics on Ain't It Cool News with Mark for, well, damn near a decade.
Probably more than that. I mean, it's been.
And then I was about 10 years.
Yeah, and then we were on a podcast together, and
Yeah, I talked to you more than family members most.
Yeah. There was that one time I saved you from a train crash.
Right. Even though I think we've only been in the same state once. That was from New York Comic Con.
Yes. But today we're going to talk about a subject that you are very versed in: horror movies.
Which is why, very special guest for a horror audience. I don't know if they're going to like me. We'll find out in the comments, hopefully.
I love comments. I don't get enough of them, so hopefully people will comment about this. So we were going to look at a film. We were banging around some ideas, and you suggested The Current Occupant, which is now playing on Hulu through their Into the Dark series that's being produced by Blumhouse.
I thought it was Blumpkin House.
No, not Blumkin, it's Blum. But I haven't seen every one of these movies on Hulu, but I have seen maybe 5 or 6. Have you seen any of them other than this one?
I don't consider myself a horror person. I can't even pronounce it right. It sounds weird coming out of my mouth even. Horror. I'm not a horror person by trade. I've seen all the staples because I'm an 80s kid and I hung out with older kids and we were the only people on the block with cable. So I was forced to watch shit like Sleepaway Camp and all the Nightmare on Elm Streets and Freddy's and Jason by all the teenagers in the neighborhood. But it's not a genre I immediately gravitate to. I was actually, when I saw The Current Occupant come up on Hulu, I'm like, ooh, politics. I like politics. But as soon as I saw part of the Hulu horror series, I'm like, okay. But once I saw then, oh, look, that's the Seventh Heaven guy. Let's see what kind of a train wreck he is these days. The politics in that is what pulled me in, not the horror. So I've seen none of, I think, Into the Dark series.
Okay. Well, yeah, it does have Barry Watson in it, and I had to look it up. I'm not a fan of Seventh Heaven. I don't think I've ever seen an episode of that. So when you do your Seventh Heaven podcast, you should invite me back as a virgin viewer of Seventh Heaven.
I would not do that to you.
Oh. Well, this was directed by Julius Ramsey. He has done a couple of things like Walking Dead episodes and Scream, and most of them have been horror themes. He did a movie called Midnighters, which I haven't seen, but I've heard about, and I kind of want to seek that out. Usually Blumhouse have been making these movies as responses to holidays. It's a monthly series. They're in their second year. And I've found the ones that I've seen either to be very heavy-handed in the message they're trying to say or sort of making fun of the genre, but none of them have really scared me or felt like they've been serious movies. But this one, I don't know how you feel about it, but I kind of dug this. What are your initial thoughts on the film?
Oh, he was also in Sorority Boys, which is top quality comedy. None of the jokes would work at all today. I was going to ask you, I guess, to a certain extent. I was never scared during this. Not once did my spidey senses tingle, and did I have any sense of fear. Is it still horror?
I didn't realize. I didn't know you were phrasing that into a question. But I was concerned for the character. And so it wasn't like I was pulling my covers to my chin during any time in this movie. It had me invested because it does open up, and I guess we can sort of explain the premise of the film. It opens with a guy, he's in a hospital room. So, well, he's not in a psych ward yet. He's recovering. He's recovering from an injury, and they're waiting for him to sign himself out of it. He's having these weird dreams. He has amnesia. Obviously, he's suffered some kind of wound that may be a gunshot wound. And he wakes up. He doesn't know who he is. He's disoriented. He's trying to learn how to walk again. So there's a whole rehab process that happens at the beginning where you're not really sure what's going on or what kind of movie this is. And then he signs himself out of the hospital and he goes into this psych ward where he gets this notion in his head that he's the president of the United States and he's being held in this psych ward without any way of communicating to anyone he knows outside of the place. He's got this orderly, Marvin Crondon Jones III.
That guy's got the head. That guy's got the head of a madball. Remember Madballs from the '80s? Yeah.
Yes. I like this guy. I think he's an awesome actor. He was on the Black Lightning series, which I stomached the Black Lightning series for the first season. But he played Tobias Whale, and he's a pretty imposing figure. I would love to see like him in a slasher movie or something. Just him being like a serial killer. He's got a face his mother only a mother can love, but he is an awesome dude. I think he was a really commanding presence in this film.
He was, yeah. Sometimes you find that, though, with those freakhead people that they can't carry an entire vehicle by themselves. It's, it's sad. But it's the life of a character actor. Their head's just too weird for that much screen time.
I think he makes a good villain. I don't know if he could pull off like as the star of something. I've never seen him act past really being like grimacing or just kind of looking threatening. But he does that really well. I could definitely see him being a heavy in a major film, I think. And I think Barry Watson did a great job as the lead. I did not know him prior to this. He had the generic sort of look that I guess he could be president.
He's the guy you get when you can't afford Joel McHale.
Yeah, or Timothy Olyphant. Anyway, the acting, I think, was done pretty well throughout the whole film. I believed Henry Cameron, who is the character's name, to be in peril. I didn't know if he was the president or if he was just somebody who believed he was the president. I think they did a really good job of jumping back and forth, making you believe one way or another throughout the whole film, and kept that mystery aspect going.
The movie was a couple different parts. When he's sick, he's in the hospital bed. I mean, that took a while. That's where it all felt the most real to me. It was when they went into the psychiatric ward, they started to lose a little bit. He starts going through a reconditioning program, right? Before you get to the ultimate question of this, which is where I think you were going, and you don't find that out till about the 3/4 mark. They start to go through this sort of deep conspiracy, this underlocker, this omega-6 protocol thing. And again, that's to get you to believe that, is this guy the president? What's the question they ultimately ask him at the end of all that is, what is more believable, that the president has been committed to a psychiatric ward or that someone in a psychiatric ward thinks that they're president? That's an easy question for me to answer. It's B. Okay. I mean, walk down the street in New York and all the people that should be having some kind of professional psychiatric help that are living on the sidewalk, 4 out of 10 think they're fucking president. That's more fucking plausible. And I think definitely they took so long, though, to make you as the viewer believe that he might be president that I think they belabored that point too much. I wanted to know more about omega-6, and that would have made me question more at the end as well.
Well, I think what they did was they really stretched out that middle part just to make it a movie length. What I was really surprised at with how political everything is today, I was surprised how they kept it very neutral. You never know if this guy is a Republican or a Democrat. Given the temperature of the world, film was made about the president that didn't take a side. I guess if you took a side with that, you would either love him or hate him because of the way everybody's so polarized these days.
Oh yeah, go back to what our old podcast used to be on comic books. They did that very wisely for years, and most television has to do that. They genericize the president, and you absolutely have to do that if you don't want to step on your story. Yeah, you can't do a pastiche of whoever's in the office, because that, dates the film immediately.
Yeah,
definitely. So he did a very good genericized version of the president. I guess they did a very good job avoiding politics at the time because it wasn't real. They didn't address any politics, really.
I've always heard there's always the myth story that you hear, especially in the psychiatric field where I came from, where somebody checks in as a student to be evaluated in a hospital for a school project, and then they end up being committed and not being able to get out of there. Unsane came out a couple of months ago where that very thing happened. Someone came in, they answered the wrong question on the questionnaire, and she was wrongly hospitalized. And I believe there was a movie called The Fifth Floor or The Sixth Floor from the 80s that dealt with the same sort of topic of, and just being in a place where you have no control over your own self or anything. You're being told when to go to bed, when to wake up, when to eat,
awesome.
when to shit.
I would love that.
I need that structure in my life, so maybe I'll
I
just get
know.
myself committed.
I've been autonomous for 20 years. Fuck that, man. That sounds.
they have-
what you just described sounds so much easier.
Do they have free Wi-Fi? I mean, if they do, and access to a gym, I think I would definitely go in there. That would be awesome.
There doesn't seem a downside here, really.
What do you think it was trying to say? Was there a message that you think this thing had?
Insanity is inescapable.
I guess.
It leaves it very open-ended, right? I mean, so that's the question is, that question of, do you believe that the president has gone insane or that an insane man has gone president? It's supposed to leave it as an open-ended. The fact that everything was so dreamy and ethereal, and I know this is not how our government would really work, made me believe very early on that it's an insane man who thinks he's president. Yeah.
Okay. But I think they keep it very open-ended. You still don't know. Is he the president? You do, but you don't. But it's
okay.
You just never know.
Mm.
I've been known to follow some conspiracies, and I don't think it would be that far for something like that to happen, especially with the way how crazy things are these days.
No, no.
You don't think there could be? I understand it would take a little bit more than that. There would probably be some aptitude tests and things like that for him to get out of psych ward.
The fact that grungy fucking psych ward where basically you're doing BDSM, bondage, torture to the president below the actual West Wing in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It would probably be some like swanky place like at Mar-a-Lago or something like
Absolutely.
that. But yes, I think it did take a lot of pages from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, things like that. I think that there definitely are shades of Manchurian Candidate in here a little bit, as if they were sort of trying to manipulate him to follow a certain set of values. They were saying, like, what's the core aspect of life? He said love at the beginning, but then he said survival. Then they asked him, who would you save? A person you love or 10,000 people? And he had to make that very tough choice. And so they're broad, but I think that they are pointed questions that I think every president should have to think about. Say if Michelle Obama was kidnapped, what would Barack Obama do in that situation if it put 100,000 soldiers in danger to save her?
That's why we have drones. That's why we have drones and black ops.
I know, yes,
for just those situations.
But I think it's a good question to have maybe all presidents ask, and
that's why they have every first-year philosophy major ask all those same questions.
Yes, I mean, this is a very Hollywood glamorized version of the whole thing. But I do think that they communicated their point very well, that all it takes is a couple of dominoes to fall for you to find yourself into a situation where you lack any control of anything in your life. I find that to be the scariest thing that I took away from the film.
Yes. The fact that you could have all that taken away from you and there is no help. I think the other thing where I immediately said, okay, it's an insane person. Why is the Secretary of State there?
Well, his whole cabinet might have been. I thought everybody was going to be there.
That's what I thought, yeah.
The guy with the bunny.
Yeah.
Like the guy with the bunny was like, he was the, I don't know, Supreme Court Justice or something. And just, everybody was.
Which isn't even part of the cabinet.
For what it was trying to do, I think it told a nice, ambiguous tale. But you're right. I would have liked to have seen a little bit behind that project. I think that if they would have talked a little bit more about that, we would have known a little bit more what the movie was trying to say as far as politically, I guess.
And I would have cared more about the world, and it might have provided a bit more of a clever ruse, right? If there were moments to be more presidential, I would have felt that it wasn't just some crazy guy. They put some threads out there, and they just didn't pull them long enough.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't show any good or bad or any reason why somebody would want to have this conspiracy happen to him. It's not like he was about to sign some document that was going to declare war on a country. Had that been the reason why they took that opportunity to snatch him away out of office and put him in this sort of hellhole, I think it would have been a more fulfilling story.
Right. That's where I said there's no politics in this.
Yeah. Well, there's philosophical politics, but not any hard issues, definitely. So the big question is this going to make you a huge horror fan and you're going to watch nothing but horror from now on?
Right. Now it's changed my life. Can't you tell?
So you're sort of nonplussed with this.
It's a fine popcorn flick background while I'm playing Civilization on my computer, for instance.
Okay.
I don't think the current occupant, I don't know what makes it horror.
I think it's psychological horror.
Okay.
It's like a thriller.
Yeah, all right. Oh, okay.
If you were in that situation, I think you would be a bit horrified.
The current occupant had a few gross moments, like, I fast forwarded a little bit when he's like having to go through that latrine cleaning.
Yeah, that was a little extreme. I don't know. I think that was just an excuse to show a poopy toilet.
Yeah. And that's probably where I shun this genre the most, is when they just try to gross me out, when they just try to just hit that base visceral level. And I'm that way with most things.
That does remind me, that was an interesting scene where basically the president had staged an escape and he was being punished for trying to escape the whole thing. And the guard made him lick his boot. Was that some kind of symbolic thing to see if he would bow down to some type of pressure once he's been put under pressure by whatever aspect of life?
Yeah. And the answer is he did it because he's a fucking crazy guy who thinks he's president.
Well, I'm trying to be a glass half full guy and say that I think he might have been a decent president. I don't know. I don't know his stance on
anything.
I don't know if he's pro-mask or against mask. I didn't know if he liked Saving Private Ryan or not. I don't know. These are important things.
Does he know anything about economics and money? We don't know.
Well, see, and I guess we never will. But anyway, so you're kind of meh to it. I think it was one of the better Hulu Into the Dark episodes. That might not be a great recommendation for you to go and try out some of these other ones. It's trying to be an anthology that focuses on holidays, but it's not going to be like traditionally Christmas. It might be Kwanzaa one year, or it might be...
What the fuck was a holiday for this one? President's Day?
This must have been President's Day, or yeah, I guess it was President's Day. When is President's Day?
It's like, it was back in the winter.
They're playing fast and loose with that concept.
They are.
But I do
4th
think
of July.
that
4th of July.
4th of July. There it is. See? I knew we'd get to it sooner or later. Well, I think that's about it for today. Why don't you tell the nice folks out there in YouTube land where they can see or contact or stalk you if they would like to?
They can't. I'm out of this game.
You're off the web?
No, I mean, I'm on the web. Fine. I'm Rob Patey. Please friend me. And if you want me to talk about other stuff, let me know. I've been looking for podcast ideas. I would like to do this again. But right now, I've got nothing really to pimp.
Well, I will talk with you about movies any old time. So I would like to have us team up.
It's been a pleasure. I hope you edit out that last 40 seconds of rambling.
Oh, I'll edit out a big chunk of this, but I think I had a great time talking with you.
Yeah.
I want to once again thank Rob Patey for joining me on this episode of ML Miller Frights. You can contact him at Rob Patey on Twitter. I'll give his information down below. Self-promo time. I think followers of this channel might be interested in a comic book that I wrote coming out on September 2nd called Grave Trancers. This is a trade paperback collecting the 4-issue series. The final order cutoff date for Grave Trancers is August 10th, so there's still time to let your comic shop know you need a copy. That'll do it for today. If you like this video, please pound that thumbs up button. Share your video with your social media addicted pals. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on mlmillerwrites.com. And be sure to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell for alerts to be the first to see my future videos. Thanks so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. You're doomed. Live the life that you are meant to be. Live inside that reality.